The last 5 years of your working career are the most important to prepare for retirement. In today's video, I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to show you the 5 things that you can do to make the most of these years. Hey everybody, I'm Daniel Rondberg from Nation's First Financial. So why are the last 5 years of your working career so much more important when you're preparing for retirement? Well, there are many reasons, but in today's video, I'm going to highlight the 5 most important aspects that you need to focus on to maximize your retirement strategy. Reason number 1 is compound interest. Now, the reason this is number 1 is because this is when compound interest really starts to kick in. Now, we're all told about the power of compound interest, but here's the thing about it. It doesn't really start to pay off until you get much closer to retirement. Let's use Warren Buffett, for example. As of today, Warren Buffett's net worth is about $110 billion, a staggering amount of money. However, Warren Buffett didn't first become a billionaire until age 56, meaning for Warren Buffett, about 99% of his net worth was built and grown after age 56. Now, you and I may never have $110 billion in our lifetime, nor do we really need to worry about what to do with $110 billion. But the principles that built it remain the same. If so much of Warren Buffett's net worth was built after the age of 56, the same applies to you and I. So much of the power of compounding happens in those last few years before you retire. A very common example that we see all the time is your portfolio could double in those last 5 years of your working career. How is this the case? Well, let's take a look at another example. Let's assume that you're 60 years old today and you'd like to retire at age 65 with $1.5 million. And today you have $750,000. I mean, it took you your entire working career to grow from 0 to $750,000. So how on earth are you supposed to go from $750,000 to $1.5 million, essentially adding another $750,000 before you retire? Well, let's assume that there's 2 spouses and they're both maxing out their 401k, which is approximately $30,000 for this year. And let's assume that you're both getting a match from your employer of about $4,000. If you get an 8% growth rate from age 60 to 65, you will double that $750,000 to $1.5 million by the time you retire. Meaning it maybe took you 40 years to grow your first $750,000, and it only took you another 5 years to grow an additional $750,000. The reason for that is twofold. Number 1 is compounding, as we were mentioning earlier. But also in your latter years, that's typically when you have more flexibility and you can save a whole lot more for retirement. Before that, you're saving for college, you're saving for a home, you're saving for a whole bunch of different things. Then all of a sudden you're in your peak earning years, and maybe the kids are out of the house, the mortgage is in line, and you have all this extra income to be saving. It becomes a lot easier to save when you don't have to do everything at once. So if we can use the last 5 years to really focus on compounding, it's not inconceivable to think that your money couldn't double in the last 5 years before you retire. So principle number 1 here is this is when compounding really starts to pay off. Reason number 2 is understanding the cost of retirement. The second reason the last 5 years become so important is because it's when you actually start to realize what the cost of retirement is going to look like. If you ask a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old, hey, how much are you going to need to retire on? It's a very difficult question. They're raising families, they're trying to save for a home. They're doing a whole bunch of different things in their phase of life than you're going to be doing in the last 5 years before you retire. So in those last 5 years, you're really getting an acute sense of what it looks like to say, okay, what is my retirement really going to look like for me? What is travel going to look like? What is leisure going to look like? What will my lifestyle look like? Your expenses are going to be one of the most important variable factors to determining the success of your retirement savings. So again, if you ask a 40-year-old, what's the cost of retirement? They're probably going to tell you, I have no idea. It's just too far off for them to think about, and there's too many other things that are demanding their attention. But if you ask somebody who's 60, 62, or 65, hey, what's the cost of retirement? They probably still may not have an idea, but they're going to have a much better sense of how much things cost and what they're actually going to want retirement to look like because they're much closer to that date. They're probably going to be able to come up with a better answer than when they were 10, 20, or 30 years out from their retirement. So use those last 5 years up until retirement to use as an estimate for what things are going to cost, and then refine it from there. So that by the time you actually do retire, you have a very clear idea of what things are going to cost and what you actually want retirement to look like for you. Reason number 3 is going to be paying for big things up front. The third reason that the 5 years leading up to retirement is so important is it's a great opportunity to get bigger costs out of the way. Chances are with those last 5 years, you have a much healthier income than you had most of your working career. Those might be some of your highest income earning years, and so we're going to want to take advantage of that. Do you have a roof that needs to be repaired? Do you have a new car that needs to be purchased? Do you have some big item that can be prepaid off? By doing this, you're setting yourself up for a much higher probability of success in retirement because you're not having to come out of pocket for bigger cost items on a fixed income. And also, you get rid of a ton of emotional stress. Believe it or not, one of the most difficult things you're going to find in retirement is actually bringing yourself to spend money. And sometimes when a big item does come up to spend money on, you have a big car purchase or a big home repair or something else, it's very difficult emotionally. And it can even create fear, anxiety, or scarcity that you're spending too much money in retirement if you leave those big ticket items to deal with then. Reason number 4 is your opportunity to take care of medical procedures. This is your opportunity to take care of any big medical procedures that you may need. Now, granted, we can't control our health and we can't control when certain things happen. But if you have good health insurance through your employer, use it those last 5 years before you retire, and maybe even those last few months before you retire. Any procedures that you know you're going to need, any visits that you know you're going to need, get everything checked while you can. And that way you're not coming out of pocket for major medical expenses right when you start retirement. And the 5th reason that the last 5 years of your retirement are so important is it gives you a chance to start dreaming. 5 years out, you can really start to see it. You can really start to feel it. It's not here yet, but it's just around the corner. As I mentioned earlier, in your 30s and 40s, you're probably hardly thinking about retirement. Hopefully you're saving in your 401k, and hopefully you're putting some money away, but you're not actively obsessed or consumed with exactly what retirement's gonna look like for you. You're probably raising a family, buying a home, or trying to advance in your career. And these are all things that are probably competing for your attention. Well, the last 5 years leading up to your retirement, those things are probably no longer on your plate. So you can now fully devote this time to not just saying, what do I need to do financially to get ready for retirement, but what do I want to do personally and emotionally to get ready for retirement? What can I be doing now to prepare to make this the best season of my life? It's a blank canvas. So what do I want to spend my days doing? How can I be intentional about making sure I have something to retire into? So that way it's not just retiring and then wandering around aimlessly wondering what you're going to do all the time, but it's retiring and having a routine and knowing what's to come. It's knowing what trips are coming up, what activities you're going to get into, and what you're going to spend filling your days with. Those last 5 years are a wonderful time to start dreaming. Because if you don't, and you just spend all your time preparing on the financial side, you're going to be funding your 401k, having your Roth IRAs all set up, paying off your mortgage, building up your brokerage account, setting aside your emergency fund, and then by the time you get there, you won't be able to pull the trigger, because you're not sure what's on the other side of it emotionally and personally for you to spend some of your hard-earned money. So if you're not dreaming about what you want your retirement to look like, so then I would encourage you to actively start taking steps on creating that outcome. So this is why the last 5 years leading up to retirement are so important. It's an opportunity to not only get ready financially, but emotionally for this wonderful time that's coming up in your life. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. Make sure that you're doing all the things you need to do now to ensure that your retirement's going to be the best season of your life. Now, believe it or not, sometimes one of the best things you can do for your retirement is to stop saving for retirement when you reach a certain point. Now, that may sound counterintuitive, but I explain why in this next video right here. Once again, I'm Daniel Rondberg with Nations First Financial, and if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients, go ahead and visit us at nationsfirstfin.com. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video and you want more information about retirement, be sure to check out my new book, Buy Back Your Life, How to Stop Worrying About Money and Start Living in Retirement. If you want a copy of this book absolutely for free, call my office with this phone number below. Talk to the girls at the front desk. You don't have to provide any information. We just need your name and address, and they'll mail you out your copy today.